Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and then I will pause intermittently to talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
I'm Sergeant Richard Gordias with the Public Information Office of the Tucson Police Department. This critical incident briefing concerns a recent officer-involved shooting that occurred on the west side of Tucson. Investigations involving use of force, specifically when an officer discharges their firearm, can take a significant amount of time. Investigators are tasked with reviewing body-worn camera footage, interviewing multiple witnesses, examining forensic evidence, and reviewing hundreds of pages, transcripts, and reports. The investigation is ongoing, which means additional information will follow. This briefing is not meant to draw conclusions about whether the officer's actions were consistent with department policies or the law. Those determinations will not be made until the investigation is complete. Please also understand that some of the images and language used in this briefing are graphic. Viewer discretion is advised. On February 3rd, 2022, just after 5 p.m., the Public Safety Communications Department received several 911 calls reporting a male was pointing a gun at multiple bystanders, including children and several passing vehicles, near North Romero and West Prince Road. Officers from Operations Division West responded to the area and located several witnesses. The witnesses provided the suspect's description and told officers the man with the gun was southbound on Romero Road. A patrol officer located the suspect on North Romero Road just south of Fort Lowell Road. We will now play the initial 911 call being dispatched and radio traffic from the responding officers coordinating their approach.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Hagel and Romero.
Repeat the location.
Hagel and Romero, Tucson, Arizona.
And what's going on there?
There's a little boy that pulled a gun out on my son. He's walking down Romero. He looks Hispanic with a blue and white hoodie on.
All right, I'll get his description in just a second. Is he still in the area?
Yep, I'm looking right at him.
How long ago did this occur?
Just 2 minutes ago, sir. He's brandishing the gun at me, sir.
He's pointing it at you now?
He just put it back. He turned right back around. He pointed the gun at me, and then he's walking back towards Fort Lowell now. Look, he's got the gun, sir. He's got the gun out, sir. He's got the gun out, sir. He's gonna shoot my wife, sir.
I understand. Who's he pointing the gun at?
He's pointing the gun at us. He's just crossing over Fort Lowell. He pointed the gun at my wife and my son that are in the truck behind me, sir. And he's fighting another little boy. Sir, he's fighting another little boy. Another little boy with a black and white dog, and he's fighting with him. He's fighting him, sir. Yep.
Motor 2 to 2 Tom 6-3 or the other unit. One of you pick, if you guys can come flowing wells, go down Fort Lowell. Other unit come up from the south, go up Romero, just to see if we can find this guy.
He's coming from the south from here from mile.
10-4, if you can just post up for now, just if he does have a gun, just take a good position down there, and then whoever's going up Fort Lowell, take a position a few blocks to the east. See if we can at least kind of do pseudo-quads here and lock him in.
2-4-7, I'm approaching on Fort Lowell from the east.
10-4, and if we have another unit, if they can come from the north.
2-3-5, can you go with the description? I think I've got him on the sidewalk, and I've got a long gun to play.
A responding officer used his patrol car's PA speaker system to give the suspect multiple commands to drop his gun. The suspect refused to drop the weapon. The officer continued to give commands as he opened the door and exited his patrol car. The suspect continued to refuse commands and pointed the gun at the officer.
Get on the ground now! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! 4-7, he is pointing a gun at me now. Drop the gun! You will be shot! To Adam 4-7, shots fired. Four seven, subject is down. Somebody get me an IFAC and let me come up.
All right, so so far we have the body cam footage from this officer, and he has utilized a pistol. We heard the radio traffic about another officer saying he's got long gun deployed. That is the proper thing to have out for a scenario like this. Unfortunately, there's just so many videos out there where officers knowingly respond to gun-related calls and they neglect to get their rifle out. This is one of my biggest gripes in these Monday quarterback videos, is officers failing to get their rifles out when they need to be getting the damn things out. Now, with that being said, I don't know how his vehicle's set up. It could be that his rifle is in the cargo hold of the vehicle and it's not even in the cab. I can understand if he did not have time in this instance right here to be able to get out and get into the cargo hold of his SUV and get the rifle out. It may have been much quicker for him to dismount with the pistol in hand. However, I would say that as he's en route to this call, it doesn't take that long to just pull over to the side of the road, jump out, go to the back of the car, get the rifle out, bring it back to the cab, get in, charge it, danger that bitch up, and continue to the call. Doesn't take that long at all. And then, once you get on scene to that call, if you have to rapidly dismount the vehicle, guess what? You got a fucking rifle with you. So, there's no good excuse, in my opinion, on why he should not have a rifle out. Now, if he had a rifle in the cab of the vehicle, same thing. He could have, while en route to this call, simply pulled to the side real quick, safely disengage the magnetic lock on the rifle mount, get the rifle out, charge it up, and have it slung around his neck in a one-point type of configuration, or wedge it in between the seat and the console, and then when he needs to get out quickly, he can grab the rifle and go. With the rifle being in the cab of the vehicle, it is possible to get it out while driving. Of course, you have to multitask and do a little bit more finessing, but that can certainly be done. So there's options there. There is also the possibility that his particular vehicle doesn't have a rifle in it. I don't expect that as a likelihood, but there are some places out there where not everyone gets a rifle. Only certain cars get a rifle, like maybe someone who's on a special team or a supervisor or something like that. There's not that many out there that are like that, but there are some. And that is a administration problem. That's someone at the top who is making stupid decisions and just needs to go. There's really no good reason why each individual officer can't have a long gun. Doesn't have to be a rifle. It could be a shotgun. You can, for what you would get for one good fighting rifle, you could get probably 3 to 4 shotguns for that price. So there's, like I said, there's no good reason why each individual officer doesn't have a long gun. And if they don't, that's an administration problem, and whoever's in charge needs to go. Now, if there is a rifle in this vehicle, then that's a problem on this officer, and this officer failed to get the right tool out. Rifle cartridges will outperform pistol cartridges every damn day of the week. No contest. I don't give a shit what you say. Rifle cartridges will beat pistol every damn time. Aside from them having phenomenal terminal ballistics, they're also a lot more accurate. When you're dealing with a pistol, you have a short barrel, and you have something that you can only get 2 points of contact on. With a rifle, you've got a longer barrel, and you can have multiple points of contact on that rifle and have it a lot more accurate and take more accurate shots at a longer distance. Not saying that you can't make shots with a pistol at a longer distance. This guy certainly did. He is definitely outside the normal, typical pistol engagement distance. Typical pistol engagement distance is about the length of a car almost. Or even shorter at bad breath distance. You don't typically always see a lot of pistol engagements with this kind of distance involved. He's a pretty good little distance away from this guy. And the chances of missing go up a lot higher the further the distance that is involved with. So with a rifle at this distance, no problem. No problem whatsoever making good, accurate, incapacitating hits on target. So, if you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles.
Don't touch that gun! Do not touch that gun! No. I don't have one.
Huh. He don't even have shit. Okay, so that's a big problem right there. You don't have an IFAK, like, that's fucked up. If you're going to carry the tools to induce trauma, you need to be carrying the tools to reduce trauma. If you carry a gun on a daily basis, that means you recognize the fact that you could be involved in a gunfight. If you recognize the fact that you can be involved in a gunfight, then you must know that bullets go both ways, and you could be shot, your teammate could be shot, your family could be shot. You have to carry medical gear. Like, I can't think of, there is no good reason why you shouldn't be carrying medical gear, even if you're not even trained on how to render first aid to someone. A fucking police car should always have a medical kit in it, regardless. Like, I don't care if you don't know a damn thing about medicine, first aid, if you've never even taken a CPR class, that damn public safety vehicle needs to have a trauma kit in there, at bare minimum. Aside from that, you need to have bare minimum training. You have at least some first aid training. And most agencies and companies will meet that. They will provide their personnel some of the basic medical training. Now, excuse me, a CPR 80 first aid class is not the typical class that I would recommend people take to learn how to deal with gunshot wounds and stab wounds. It's just not geared towards that. You need a more TCCC specific sort of class, a tactical combat casualty care themed sort of class where you learn some of the basics of that. TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, is something that comes from the late 90s, early 2000s, and it is a more sensible approach to treating traumatic injuries from warfare. Now, some of that data that is collected that drives the tactics for TCCC happens to include shit like landmines, improvised explosives, artillery, stuff like that. Obviously, we don't have those things in domestic law enforcement, at least not yet. But there's still small arms fire that can occur, and your data sets for TCCC contain obviously small arms. And with that being said, from what has been seen as far as battlefield wounds, the leading causes of death, etc., massive hemorrhaging is one of those. And so there's an acronym called MARCH, and you follow the MARCH, just kind of like your ABCs acronym, airway, breathing, circulation. Well, MARCH is an acronym that comes from TCCC that addresses the leading causes of death in the battlefield. And like I said, although the leading causes of death in the battlefield, the data set includes stuff like rocket attacks and artillery and shit like that. It also includes small arms. So it still applies to domestic law enforcement because there's small arms being involved. So start with MARCH, M, massive hemorrhaging. So things like tourniquets, pressure dressings, compressed gauze, those kind of things, and the knowledge on how to stop the bleeding comes into play. Your airway, respiratory, circulatory, and hypothermia. Knowing how to establish an airway in a person, keep the airway open, how to protect their airway and their respirations, their circulatory system, and keep them from freezing to death. Actually, with a loss of blood, it don't even have to be winter time, but with a lot of significant loss of blood, a person can actually become hypothermic. So, The first ones, though, the massive hemorrhaging, like that, I mean, you can bleed to death in 90 seconds from a hit to your femoral artery. So that is why I recommend that at bare minimum, you carry at least a tourniquet on you. Aside from that, you can also carry chest seals and stuff like that in case you get a sucking chest wound and whatnot. But I'll go into medical a little bit more here. But every vehicle has got to have a medical kit in it, and every officer has to carry some form of medical gear on them. Obviously, you're not going to be able to carry the whole damn trauma bag on you, but you can carry, at bare minimum, just a tourniquet. Like I said, I'll go into medical like a little bit more later, but this right here is a problem that he don't have any medical gear whatsoever.
No. I don't have one. Bring up the knife back!
So, I said I'll talk about medical later, but I'll hit on this. He doesn't have an IFAC, and the other guy doesn't have an IFAC. What if these guys were only two dudes who went to a call and one of them got shot? What the fuck are they going to do for one another? Not a damn thing. They're going to have to sit there and wait for an ambulance to get there or wait for another officer to get there to render aid to them. So that means that one of those officers is going to have to stare at the other while they're laying there bleeding to death and dying. I don't like that as an option. That sounds like a really shitty option, having to sit there and watch someone die because you ain't got the fucking equipment to deal with it. Like, that sucks. Like, that almost sucks as much as being stuck in an active shooter incident. You ain't got a fucking gun. Like, that hopelessness feeling. Like, I don't like that one bit at all. So, from the mindset of treating yourself and your teammates, that should be priority number one of getting medical gear. I can understand you having the mindset of, well, I ain't getting medical gear for the bad guys. They can wait for the damn ambulance. Hey, 100%. I actually fucking agree with that. But you're not invincible. You're not Superman. Your ass can get shot too. So for that reason alone, you need medical gear.
I don't have one. Take my car, drive down there. Okay, I think he just threw the gun to the right. Get on your belly and put your arms out.
I'll take IC now. Just focus on him. Okay, got it.
Okay, you with me? We're gonna go detain him at least. I'm ready. Go. Get your hands out! All right, let's get up on the sidewalk, and then I'll move in to detain him. Okay, he threw it. It looks like he threw it over to our right. Stay right there. Do not move. Hands behind your back now.
Officers on scene immediately began rendering aid using their individual first aid kits, also known as IFACs, until Tucson fire personnel arrived and transported the suspect to Banner University Medical Center with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Detectives with the Tucson Police Department Violent Crime Section conduct a criminal investigation into this incident, while the Office of Professional Standards, also known as Internal Affairs, conducts a separate administrative investigation into the actions of department personnel. This is standard protocol in all officer-involved shootings. When complete, both the criminal and administrative findings will become public record. This is a replica gun that the suspect was in possession of. Here's a photo of a real Glock X19.
So, I mean, damn near, you know, if he would not have even said that this is a replica, at first glance, I would have thought that was a real gun. I mean, so let's see here. I mean, shit, dude. Like, so this pin in this pin right here obviously don't match up to the real one. But shit, like everything else, just it fucking matches up. Like it is. The trigger looks a little weird, maybe. Of course, this one's back, so you can't tell. I mean, shit. Like I said, if they had not said that this was an airsoft gun, I had no idea to begin with that this is what was happening in this video. Because hell, I thought I heard a damn gunshot go off in the 911 call. But yeah, if they had not said airsoft, I would have. I mean, no one, not even like your most like gun nut person would automatically say this is a fake. I mean, it looks totally real. So, yeah, I mean, something that realistic looking, hell yeah, the police are going to fucking shoot their ass. You can't expect someone to pause and wait long enough to squint their eyes and really try to get a good look at what's in a person's hand that looks like a gun and see if it's real or not. That's an unrealistic expectation. And if somebody has that kind of expectation, well, they're more fucked up than a football fat, and they need to go unfuck themselves. There's just no way you could ever expect someone to take the extra time to really scrutinize someone holding something like this and like, well, I don't know, it might not be real. No, hell no. Like, it looks real. You point at someone, you're expecting to get shot. You should expect to get shot.
The suspect has been identified as 25-year-old Kevin Angelo Lyons. Mr. Lyons was charged with 6 counts of aggravated assault with a simulated deadly weapon, 2 counts of aggravated assault with the victim under 15, and 1 count of aggravated assault on a police officer and was booked into Pima County Jail. The officer in this incident is Benjamin Boshi, a 19-year veteran of the Tucson Police Department.
Okay, so, going back.
The suspect has been identified as 25-year-old.
He looks stupid. He looks like the stupid kid off of the movie Stargate. And I forgot his damn name. Let's go back. Alright, so they start detaining him after he's been shot. So it looks like this agency uses outer vest carriers. I've become a fan of the outer carrier. I think it's probably the more superior choice. The breathability when it comes to the armor, it's great. Like, having for years worn a concealable vest, it sucks, man. It gets hot as shit. And with an external carrier, a lot more breathability. A lot less sweat. Not saying it takes the sweating completely out, but it's a lot less. And the nice thing about an outer carrier is you can open it and do a little flapping motion and get some airflow going in through there and cool off a little bit easier. You can't do that with a concealed vest. But anyway, some outer vests have these MOLLE webbing on the back, on the front. Some of them with the back too. But on the front here, and you can mount a bunch of different stuff. Now, oftentimes you'll see like radio, body camera, taser, flashlight, shit like that on the front. Every once in a while you'll see a big ass pouch up here. I don't know for sure what's in this pouch. I can only imagine he has medical stuff in there. And if he does, then great, awesome. He's carrying a good amount of medical gear on him. And if you have the ability to have this real estate up here and there's nothing, about looks that's cared about or anything, nothing about policies in place saying, hey, you can't have everything on here that looks like you're going to invade Afghanistan, then by all means, you've got the real estate, go ahead and do that. Other agencies, they may specify you only put taser on one, this right spot right here, put taser, and here's go camera, and, radio, whatever. Some agencies specify how stuff on the vest needs to go, and even so far as to specify exactly how stuff on a belt needs to go. So I can understand why you wouldn't be able to have the ability to do that. Now, with a big old pouch this size, you can stuff a bunch of stuff in there. A lot of good stuff. Now, aside from that, you can get a medical ankle holster that will carry medical ankle gear. and it could still be a pretty good amount. You can also get something small enough to go into a pant pocket. So he is doing the right thing. I'm assuming he's doing the right thing. I'm assuming he has medical stuff in there. For all I know, he's got fucking Snickers and Skittles. But those other 2 officers, the one with the camera here, they don't have anything, and that's wrong. Like I said earlier, if you carry a gun for a living, you need to carry medical stuff on you.
Has a automatic activation that needs to be cleared.
Officers on scene.
So it looks like he's either took a round through the front and the round has exited out the back, or he got shot in the ass. One of the two. I don't know. But this is not, to me, a lot of blood. Now, we can't see up around here very well, but still, I don't see a whole lot of blood. Nothing to indicate to me that there's a need for a tourniquet. So, this tells me that there is not a sufficient amount of medical training and or experience between these people to recognize when the tourniquet needs to be used. Just because you've been shot in the leg or arm does not mean that requires the use of a tourniquet. A tourniquet is not just to treat just any bleeding. A tourniquet is specifically made for stopping arterial bleeding. You have arteries and you have veins. Arteries carry your oxygenated blood, and they're under a lot of pressure. And so if you have an artery that's been nicked and severed, blood will be coming out very noticeably. Very, very noticeably coming out. And there will be a lot of blood too. There just won't be just this tiny little bit right here. Like the fucking leg is going to be soaked in blood. So I don't see any indications here why they should be putting a tourniquet into play. At most, I think a pressure bandage would have been suffice. Of course, using scissors to cut the pant leg open and expose the wound, and then put a pressure bandage on it that way, and or use some compressed gauze on that boy there. Now, they may have had some level of training with the tourniquet. It may not have been very in depth, but they're operating to the level that they're trained. At least they were given some kind of training and some kind of equipment. So I can't gripe too much, but I see oftentimes tourniquets being used, and there's no indication for them to be used other than someone's got a gunshot wound to the leg. Like I said, just because they've been shot in the leg doesn't mean they need a tourniquet. If you see lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of blood, and it's coming out, it squirts with the heartbeat, like you see the looking like a fucking water sprinkler for a yard going, then you need to get a tourniquet on there, because they're going to be losing blood real quick. Where was I going with that? Medical gear. So, medical gear, like I said earlier, if you're going to be carrying a gun for a living, you need to carry medical gear. And you can carry stuff on you. That is generally what I call first-line medical gear. Stuff that you carry on you that is for you, your partner, and or your family, if you're an armed citizen. This stuff is usually contained just to be in a tourniquet, maybe a chest seal, some compressed gauze, a nasopharyngeal airway, gloves, etc. Little small stuff like that. And you can get something like that in a very small package. There's a product called VOC, V-O-K, Ventilated Operator Kit, that comes from Tactical Response. It's a pretty good little kit, and you can put it in a cargo pocket, put it in a pant pocket, no problem whatsoever. You can get some larger kits that contain some of the same variations of that stuff, just a different product. And like I said, you can carry this stuff in a medical ankle holster. You can buy an empty medical ankle holster and stuff all your stuff into it, or you can buy one that's already preloaded with stuff in it. And I highly recommend those. Second line gear is the bigger bags, the trauma bag that has extra stuff in it to supplement what you've used off of your personal kit, and or to use on other people. Now, what do I mean by that? As I said earlier, first line medical gear, the stuff you carry on you, I think should only be reserved for you, teammates, and family. That's it. No one else gets it. Reason being is oftentimes criminals don't work alone. They work in pairs. And so if they had shot this guy and they got over to him and started, cuffing him up and start pulling their tourniquets off, and as you already know, there's 2 of these guys who don't have any medical gear, and all these people here, I don't know how many's here, 1 at least has a tourniquet. So let's say he has a friend that he's with, and they had actual real guns, and his friend comes around the corner and sees them all piled up together on his buddy, and he wants to get revenge for his buddy and starts shooting at the officers. Let's say he gets a lucky hit and hits one of those officers in the leg, and there is a femoral hit. If that's the only tourniquet that they had in play, well, that officer's fucked. Well, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to take that tourniquet off that kid and... sorry, I don't want to say kid. Are they going to take the tourniquet off that boy and put it on that officer? Not likely. If they had some compressed gauze and they did some wound packing, and the officer needed that, what are they going to do? Unpack that wound and take that blood-soaked gauze and stuff it in the officer? No, that's not likely at all. So that's why I say that your first-line medical gear is reserved for you, teammates, and family only. The only time it should ever be entertained to be used on anyone else is when the scene is 110% safe. And for me, the definition of 110% safe means there's no less than a fucking platoon of officers on scene. That way, not only is there a sufficient amount of officers on scene to repel any armed threats, there's also a very high likelihood that there's going to be at least some sufficient amount of medical gear to deal with any more injuries that may be incurred from any more fighting. Until then, they can wait to receive medical gear from the second line medical gear, the actual trauma bag that's kept in the car that has all the extra stuff in it. They can either wait for that or they can wait for the ambulance. The only exception to that is, for me, the only exception to that is little kids. Like, if it's a little kid and they're jacked up, they've been shot, but they're still fighting to be had, and I see that they need a tourniquet, I'm going to put my tourniquet on them. Like, I mean, you just can't let a little kid bleed to death. Like, they don't have the same opportunities as us adults. Like, they don't have the opportunity to go get a full-time job and be able to go buy this shit. Other adults, yeah, they can wait. 20-something-year-old male who's sitting there bleeding and there's more fighting to be had, sorry, dude, you're on your own. Like, you had the same opportunities in life as me. You could have watched the same YouTube videos. You could have went to the same classes. You could have went to the same websites and bought the same medical gear, but you chose not to. You chose to be an unprepared fuckstick. You can sit there and wait for someone else to take care of you while I'll go deal with the fight. But like I said, the only hard exception to that is little kids. Like I said, they ain't got the same opportunities to go out and do the same stuff as I do, and they ain't got the mindset for that. Like, they shouldn't be worrying about shit like this. They need to be worrying about SpongeBob and other goofy shit. So, little kids, only exception. Everyone else, they can wait until the scene's 110% safe, or they can wait for an ambulance. I think that's all. Yeah, that is. So, if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.